I would like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for December 9th, 2019. If you would please stand with me and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Mr. Urban.
Present.
Ms. Hutchinson.
Present.
Ms. Weaver.
Here.
Ms. Dozeman.
Here.
Ms. Hulteen.
Present.
Mr. Stites.
Present.
Ms. Hoppy.
Present.
Ms. Nosler Beck.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, all of the council are present. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We have an interesting presentation today, I believe, for unit number one. We're glad to have you here. Mr. Goff, do you want to introduce this one for us?
Sure, I will, yes. Our Division Chief, Jim Lawrence, is here this evening, and Jim, we're excited about this new video we put together on the renovation of the Unit 1. It was our first police vehicle, and Mr. Lawrence had pretty much everything to do with getting this renovated. So he's going to present the video and explain a little bit what happened. Jim, are you having problems over there?
Yeah, I'm not. You probably push the button. Yeah, but sometimes if you hit these, maybe not. Lovely. Yeah, we don't have any. No screen up there either. Oh, Jesse, our videographer, maybe is gonna. There's no input over here, Jesse. Is it same on the screen there? Computer.
There's nothing wrong. Or in the foreground. Wow.
Oh, something.
It's bad. Well, we may need to go out to the parking lot.
You have any idea? Sorry about this. I'm gonna reboot it. Going again. We should be doing that. Is it this? Input detected. I went through all the different sources. So we want that one. Yeah, okay, so it needs to be on that one. I mean, we could reboot it. I think that's it though. But that's not showing it. Well, can you explain the renovation, Jim? Sorry. Yeah. Let's totally
If you want to turn it and move on, we could maybe come back to it.
Yeah, we could. Mr. Mayor, do you want to move on to the rest of the agenda, and we'll keep working on this and see if we can maybe play this at the end.
We will do that,
Okay.
and wish you our best of luck. So We will move then temporarily or for a while to the approval of the minutes. You have in your packet study session notes of November 18, 2019. Are there any corrections? Ms. Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring attention to item number 2 in the minutes, the massage business ordinance. The consensus, I rewatched the video because I wanted to be sure, but we had a full consensus, and the consensus including adding outreach to stakeholders before first reading. And so I'd just like the minutes to reflect that, please.
Okay, and clerk has that correction? I do. Okay, good. Are there any further corrections? Ms. Soltine?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the presentation that was given by Foothills that night, I think one of the important things that they mentioned that was left out in the minutes is that they depend on pet licensing for their revenue. So if that could be added as one of the presentation bullet points. Item 1. Yep. Thank you.
The pet licensing is a significant portion of their revenue.
Yeah, they rely on that.
Very good. Okay, are there any further corrections to the minutes? Then with those corrections, we will let the minutes stand approved. We are at approval of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda? And the agenda will stay as presented. We are now at citizens' right to speak. Citizens who wish may speak on any matter not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes. I have a sign-up sheet, and when I call your name, if you would come to the podium and adjust the microphone so it's convenient and comfortable for you, and give us your name, and if you'd spell your last name, give us your address, and the clerk will start the timer after that, and you have 3 minutes. And our first speaker is Chris Chidley and Roger Lesher on deck.
My name is Chris Chidley, Chidley, 4020 Everett Street, Wheatridge, 80033. I have come here to remind you of a subdivision on 4055 Everett Street. A house was proposed to be built in front of a house. Many residents came to show concern of the subdivision and to raise concern over no public input. You created an emergency moratorium to halt divisions and give time to decide on what outcomes should be determined for this example and future subdivisions less than 3 lots. You did not act on this moratorium, it ended. Later, you voted on an ordinance for subdivisions less than 3 to have public input. You voted against this. You failed our neighborhood and others. We will bring you photos next time to show the results of your decision as an example to reconsider public input on residential subdivisions. Please reinstate a case study for public input on subdivisions less than 3 lots. I have a separate issue. Raise tobacco and vaping products to 21, as 18-year-olds buy and resell products to minors in our schools here in Wheatridge. Set an example like other cities before it is too late for our youth. As of 18th of September of this year, 18 states and 500 localities have made this a change to date of 21. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Roger Lesher.
Excuse me. Roger Lasher, Loacher, 4599 Carr Street, Loacher. Evening, members of council, staff, guests, and TV viewers. I've just passed out 25-foot tape measures, and what I'd like you to do tomorrow morning is go out to your front yard and measure off 25 foot in front of your house. And that's about what the city of Wheat Ridge is going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. They're going to go to all the residential and commercial property owners on Wadsworth, and they're going to start taking or acquiring property on Wadsworth Boulevard. Mr. Wahlberg had said, we will pay you lots of money, and that is supposed to compensate you for all your problems that happens. Yeah, right. The city laid out plans in 1999 and said there would be 55,000 vehicles on Wadsworth in 2020. There are only 45,000 today. Staff said there will be 75,000 vehicles in 2040. How accurate are these numbers when they're 10,000 cars short today? City wants to build a CFL, continuous flow line, based on 75,000 traffic count by 2040. They said traffic turning left will do it so much faster with the CFL. Is that because of the extra lane they're putting in, or because of the CFL? City has stated continuous flow lanes are what we have to have, and it has to be done. And since then, money's tight. We can only live without some things. What's driving this project? Want, need, money, lack of money, pipe dream, or someone's ego? How much of your front yard would you be willing to give up for these reasons? Remember, Wadsworth is only busy twice a day, when you're going someplace or when you're coming back. Hold a good thought. I think I got a couple seconds left. I was sitting at my desk today and the phone rings. It's Mr. Lasher. I say, yeah, this is Roger. This is Mr. So-and-so from the engineering department, and we're going to be wanting to talk to you about your property on Wadsworth, and we'd like to meet with you tomorrow or the next day. I said, I'm pretty busy tomorrow, but maybe the next day. And he said, you know, we have to get working on this right away. And I looked down at my desk, and there's a piece of paper, and it said, Wadsworth Boulevard Corridor Study, May 12th, 1999. Now, where's the city, or where's this guy been for the last 20 years? We got to get started on it right away. Thank you. And if anybody needs a ruler, I got a few extra rulers, okay?
Thank you, and thank you for the tape. That's all the people that I have signed up to speak. Is there anyone here who hasn't signed up who would like to speak under public comment? All right, we will close our public comment, and we will go to, let me check with you, Mr. Goff. How's our AV equipment working?
Don't think it's working this evening, sorry. Not sure what happened.
Well, we should get the Unit 1 presentation at another meeting if...
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Sorry that not working for us tonight. I would love to offer to lend a hand, but I think we're better off without it.
Just want to go ahead and proceed with the rest of the agenda.
Okay, we will then go on to agenda item number 1, the consent agenda item number 1. Ms. Hutchinson, would you please introduce this item for us?
Thank you. Consent agenda 8, resolution number 64-2019, a resolution approving a contract with the Colorado Department of Transportation regarding improvements at the intersection of State Highway 72 and Ward Road, and West 52nd Avenue in the amount of $600,000. Consent Agenda B is the resolution number 65-2019, a resolution approving the restatement of the City of Wheat Ridge Money Purchase Pension Plan for designated police department employees.
Thank you. May I have a motion on agenda items number 1A and 1B?
I move to approve consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please poll the council?
There.
How'd we do?
Did it work?
All right, let's try it again. Let's reload. Thank you. We will move to agenda item number 2. Ms. Nosler-Beck, would you introduce agenda item number 2, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 20-2019, an ordinance approving conveyance of real property to the city of Arvada, and in connection therewith approving termination of an easement agreement and conveyance of real property to the city. The issue is the Mountain Gateway project in the city of Arvada on the west side of Robb Street requires additional right-of-way to construct Robb Street. The city of Arvada is also requesting that easements rights be extinguished. In addition, the Mountain Gateway project will be dedicating property to the city in order to expand the Ridge Road Regional Pond to provide the required stormwater detention.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It's non-quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And can the clerk confirm that this is ordinance number 1678?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this?
We do. Mr. Mark Westberg will give a presentation. He had a PowerPoint presentation, but that's not working this evening, so.
It was only 3 slides long.
Yeah.
You know, I
So-
know that you'll be able to.
Clearly, my shortest presentation ever.
At least as clear without any slides.
Yeah, so in your packets, there's a map that goes with one of the easement exhibits, and it shows what's going on up there. There's a large regional pond up there. It covers an area of like 25 acres. It's just west of the Excel substation that is on the south side of Ridge Road. There's a little private street that's called Robb Street that runs along between that pond and the property to the west. The property to the west is being redeveloped by a firm, a development group called Mountain Gateway is what they're calling their project. It's going to be industrial flex space, similar to the kind of stuff that we've got over on in our TD area. They are going to reconstruct Robb Street and straighten it out a little bit because it's got a really bad curve right at the very south end of it. And so they've got some excess ground. They approached us, it's been over a year ago, I believe, about making the pond bigger and then letting that regional pond serve their needs that they need for their stormwater detention. They will still have water quality treatment on site, but they won't have the detention on site. We've agreed to that request. We've got a couple of things. We have to modify the structure and raise the berm a little bit to accommodate all the water that's coming to that pond. The documents before you tonight are simply to transfer a little bit of the pond property to Arvada at the north end, which is the little sliver of ground that you see on the exhibit. That is necessary for the right-of-way. In order to get Robb Street to line up with the existing railroad crossing, you can't move those. They needed just a little bit of, it's just a couple of feet of pond property there that's not used for the volume of the pond, that'll be used for their street right-of-way to build Robb Street properly as it crosses the tracks. And then at the south end, there'll be some land that they will convey to us with their plat, and that's the second piece of it. The easement vacation that's noted in there is RTD has an easement. When they gave us the pond a year ago or so, they kept an easement over the pond that said that they could go in and maintain it if we ever did not. We certainly don't ever have an intention of not maintaining the pond, but they felt obligated to keep that easement. They've got to extinguish that little strip of land, the easement that's on the strip of land, in order for Arvada to use it as right-of-way. So it's a real convoluted deal, but it's a pretty simple little thing we're trying to do. So if you have any questions, then I'm available for those.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to questions, I would like to open it up for for public comment is, I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item at this time? Okay, I don't see any, so we will conclude public comment and open it up for questions of council, of staff. So before I close the public hearing and we go to a motion and debate the motion, is there any more questions of staff? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and a motion is in order.
Sorry, I'm on it. I move to approve Council Bill number 20-2019, an ordinance approving conveyance of real property to the city of Arvada, and in connection therewith approving termination of an easement agreement and conveyance of real property to the city on second reading, and that it take effect immediately upon adoption as permitted by Section 5.11 of the Charter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Urban. I want to make sure that I close the public hearing. Did I close the public hearing? Okay, thank you. Then we will have discussion on the motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Mr. Mayor, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 3, Mr. Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Bill number 21-2019, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning contributions to the police pension fund. At issue, the 2020 budget authorized by City Council on October 14, 2019 appropriates funds to increase the city's contribution to sworn employees' pension by 0.5%. for a total contribution of 10.5%, as a current contribution 10% is specified in the city's code, along with an equal match by employees. A code amendment is necessary to operationalize council's intent.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial, and I'm going to open the public hearing. And will the clerk please confirm that this is ordinance number 1679?
It is, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this?
Yes, just briefly, as was read in the issue statement, City Council did approve in the budget an increase in the police pension, city's contribution from 10 to 10.5%. In Wheat Ridge, in our code, it specified the exact amount that was from the city's contribution. Our consultants that we use for our pension plan said it's the first time they've ever seen that was actually in the city code. So we're asking that we just clear that language up a little bit and state that City Council on an annual basis can make changes to that amount instead of putting an exact amount in the code. So we are recommending, again, it's in the budget, to increase it from 10 to 10.5. We're hoping to be able to continue to increase it by 0.5% for the next 2 years so that we can remain competitive in the metropolitan area. We did some significant survey work this last year on our benefits and found out we're pretty low in our police pensions. So that's what this ordinance does.
Thank you. Before we go to questions of council, I would like to open it up to public comment. I have no one signed up to speak on this. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on agenda item number 3 from the public? I don't see anyone, so we will go to council. Go to questions from council of staff. Are there any questions of our staff? Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as it relates to our percentage, how do we compare to other cities? And as far as, are we in the middle, or are we at the top, or at the bottom?
The average that we most recently determined is closer to about 11.5 from our comparison cities in the metro area. So that's why we're suggesting that we over the 3-year period from 2020, 21, 22, we increase it by 0.5% each year to get up to what the average is. Hopefully, other cities aren't going to increase it at the same time, but we'll keep an eye on it. But So the average is just about, it's 11.5, 12%. And as it says here, we're at 10%.
And then as far as the strategy of stair-stepping it over a number of years as opposed to just doing it in one fell swoop, why are we stair-stepping it as opposed to doing it all at once?
You know, I don't know if I have a good answer for that. It's just, I guess, we're also making some significant changes also to the police pay plan for 2020. We've increased the step 1 and step 7, which is the beginning step and the final step for police officer positions. So we made some significant increases in there too. So just to be financially prudent, we thought we would do these in phases.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions from council? I had a question, Mr. Goff. It looked we're deleting in section 19.54 that we're deleting the employees' percentage paid into the fund, but we're mandating that they make a contribution into the fund. Correct?
Yeah. Also, the current code says that the employees' contribution will match the city's contribution, but we're not recommending that be the same for 2020. We're recommending that the city's contribution goes up to 10.5, but the employees stay at 10. So we're suggesting that the ordinance stays more general, that the employees will make a contribution, but we're not stating that it has to be tied to the city's contribution.
But they would be required to make some type of.
Yes, and that's in the. You'll also approve this evening, let's see, under decisions, resolutions, and motions, there is no, I guess, let's see, did you already approve it? You approved it under consent. Consent was the money purchase pension plan, and that document lays out the employee's contribution in there that the employees will contribute.
Okay. And minor matter, and I don't know that I'm right, but at the end of that first sentence in 1954, it looks like we're striking the comma after that, but we don't provide a period.
A period.
So
we'll fix that before.
If you can.
Yep. Thank you.
Fix that. So, is there any more questions for staff? Then I'm going to close the public hearing, and a motion is in order.
Yes, sir. I move to approve Council Bill number 21-2019, an ordinance amending sections 19-53 and 19-54 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning the police pension fund on second reading, and that it take effect 15 days after publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Well, let's vote again. Okay, let's vote again, please. Let's clear it, and we'll vote one more time. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. We will go to agenda item number 4. Ms. Hulteen, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Bill 22-2019, an ordinance approving the annexation of land located in Section 17, Township 3 South, Range 69 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, case number ANX-19-01. At issue, our improvements to 52nd Avenue have been identified and prioritized as an infrastructure project for the Wheat Ridge Ward Station area, and were specifically listed in the ballot language for the 2016 2E sales tax bond measure. Jefferson County owns 2 segments of the northern portion of 52nd Avenue right-of-way between Ward Road and Tabor Street, consisting of approximately 1.14 acres. Annexation of the Jefferson County right-of-way into the city of Wheat Ridge will simplify the design, construction, and future maintenance of this segment of 52nd Avenue. Jefferson County submitted an annexation petition to the city on October 11th, 2019. The annexation process is dictated by state statute, and this ordinance is a required step for approval.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on first reading to set the date, time, and place for a public hearing on this item. Motion is in order. Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 22-2019, an ordinance approving the annexation of land located in Section 17, Township 3 South, Range 69 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, on first reading. Order it published with public hearing set for Monday, January 13th, 2020, at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after publication.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Mr. Urban, who's quick on these things, so. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Mr. Mayor, the motion has passed unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to agenda item number 5. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Bill number 23-2019, an ordinance approving the initial zoning of property recently annexed into the city and located in Section 17, Township 3 South, Range 69 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, to industrial employment, i.e. mixed use, commercial transit-oriented development, MUC Todd, and mixed-use neighborhood, MUN, case number WZ-1908, 52nd Avenue zoning.
This is an ordinance on first reading to set the time, date, and place for a public hearing. Motion is in order. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 23-2019, an ordinance approving IE, MUC, TOD, and MUN zoning on property being considered for annexation to the city of Wheat Ridge on first reading. Order it published with public hearing set for Monday, January 13th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Mr. Mayor, the motion has passed unanimously.
Thank you. That leads us to item number 6. Ms. Dozeman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to award a contract and approve subsequent payments to MIG Denver, Colorado in an amount not to exceed $175,000 for professional services for the 44th Avenue sub-area plan. Do we have a presentation, or would you like me to read the issue? Okay.
We have a small presentation, so
Okay.
Mr. Johnstone, would you like to make a presentation on this?
Thank you, Mayor. City Council, in your 2019 budget, authorized in the Planning Division's professional services budget $150,000 for the express purpose of developing a new 44th Avenue corridor plan and to hire consultant services to support that effort. There is an existing sub-area plan, as you're probably all aware, for 44th Avenue as well, for a shorter portion of 44th Avenue from Miller to approximately Tabor. The scope of work for this proposed sub-area plan would actually be from Ward Road all the way over to Wadsworth, so a pretty lengthy scope of work, and I think appropriate to integrate those very different areas, but to have one overriding sub-area plan. The Fruitdale sub-area plan was adopted in 2007. Got a copy here. It was so that's about 12 years old as well, so it's just got some age on it. A typical time frame for the duration of a comprehensive plan or sub-area plan is often about 10 years. We haven't, over the years, found the Fruitdale plan to be particularly beneficial in terms of a really effective policy document to guide land use decisions to really incentivize private and public investment in the corridor. So we think it's a pretty interesting opportunity to update the sub-area plan at this time. You're probably also aware that the 2019 update to the neighborhood revitalization strategy had as one of its handful of key recommendations the development of a 44th Avenue corridor plan. The city is recommending a contract be awarded to MIG, a national planning and urban design firm with a Denver office, mid-sized Denver office in downtown Denver. They were the unanimous selection of our staff interview committee about a month ago. In addition to the $150,000 that was approved in the planning division budget, we're also proposing to augment that with $25,000 from the city manager's budget for the express purpose of doing additional kind of grassroots outreach, and in supporting that outreach, having really enhanced graphic and 3D versions of what the future of 44th might look like. So some real images that can communicate to a layperson, what we're kind of talking about in terms of revitalization scenarios that might emerge from this planning process. Just I guess an aside, but the 2020 budget also has kind of a renewed focus on citizen engagement. We heard that from the NRS. We're actually in the middle of launching a new software platform called PeopleSpeak, which will probably go live sometime in February. We don't have an exact date yet, but that's going to give citizens an opportunity to have an online opportunity to comment on a land use application. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're getting close to being able to implement that. So we're under contract with that firm out of Boulder. And then in addition to that, we also budgeted in 2020 for a more citywide engagement platform called Bang the Table. It's a municipal-oriented citizen engagement tool, and we think that this 44th Avenue corridor planning process will actually be probably one of our first opportunities to use that to better engage the community. So we look forward to having a very interactive engagement process. We'll likely be recommending some sort of a stakeholder committee that oversees and guides the project. We're not to the point of appointing that group or at this point, but I would anticipate that during the first quarter of 2020. And finally, I just also as kind of a side note, but due to staffing resources, we won't be actually kicking this project off until March, about the end of March, but we're excited to get going.
Thank you. Before I go to questions of staff, I want to open it up to questions from the public. Is there anyone here? I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on agenda item number 6? I don't see any, so I'll throw the questions open to counselors of staff. Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the description of the tasks and subtask 2.3, it discusses the steering committee chartering, but it really doesn't tell us anything about timing or perhaps the process to choose that steering committee, and so I'm just wondering if there's been some thought put into what that process will look like.
It's yes and no. We anticipate probably starting to work on that between now and March so that we can hit the ground running in March. I think we'll work with the consultant to identify what we think are some of the key stakeholder kind of boxes that we need to make sure we check in terms of different constituencies, whether that, just off the top of my head, people involved in historic preservation. There's a lot of historic resources there. The parks are a really integral part of the 44th Avenue corridor, whether it be the Greenbelt or Anderson or Prospect Park. Obviously, business community, residents, there's several different neighborhoods in that area that we want representation from. So anticipate a broad group, but we haven't really sat down and carved out that kind of list of attributes or constituencies that we want to make sure that we're covering as part of that process. And we would typically get certainly council input on those constituencies as well. So anticipate that coming up in the first quarter of 2020.
Thank you. Additional questions? Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited to see this coming forward. I know there's been talk about giving 44th Avenue some attention for a few years, and as someone involved in the NRS, I know it was something that just came up again and again. So I'm personally looking forward to it as someone who lives right off of 44th Avenue and see the potential every day. I have a couple of questions. First, having read through it, there's an emphasis both on, the process, but also like a pretty detailed description of some of the traffic analysis that will be going into it. The two questions I have around that, one is, there's a reference to pedestrian activity, but multimodal transportation isn't necessarily specifically named in the proposal, and I just want to make sure that that's something that we're being mindful of. They don't reference the bike ped master plan. There's several big regional trails that are referenced both in Jefferson County planning documents, and I just want to confirm that multimodal transportation, because that corridor is how we reach, the new rail line and a variety of different modalities. So.
Absolutely, and particularly since we're not, contemplating changing the actual road section, that's not really an opportunity that we see a need for, or physically an ability to do that. So, any enhancements to transportation in the corridor, kind of by definition, have to be multimodal.
Okay, thank you. And that you actually kind of answered my second question, just confirming that we're looking, to not fundamentally change the geometry of the street, but rather looking at its functionality. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
So then with the transportation analysis that's coming into it, I'm just curious like how that ties into, and this may be not an appropriate question for this dialogue, but looking at, it'll be conjunct with what's happening on Wadsworth and impacts there. Is that being considered as we're looking at 44th Avenue as part of that, the two?
In terms of how the two interface?
Yeah.
I think that interface has been largely established by the design documents that are moving forward for Wadsworth, which will make some improvements. And Westberg was in the audience, but he's not. It does include some improvements to 44th East and West of Wadsworth.
Okay.
So I think that kind of design is being solidified as part of the Wadsworth project itself.
Okay.
But we will evaluate, whether other intersection improvements are necessary as part of that transportation analysis at other key intersections along the corridor.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Additional questions, Mr. Urban?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in the RFP for this proposal, it indicated the scope is between Wadsworth and Youngsfield. You indicated it was from Wadsworth to Ward. So what is the exact scope?
Youngfield is correct.
Okay. And then as far as the stakeholder or the steering committee or what have you, one of my concerns here is that there's roughly 268 property owners along that corridor. So to have such a small steering committee of sorts, and I get that it's supposed to be a steering committee, but I would caution us against making it too small and then making it as large as possible, given that this is such a long or lengthy stretch of road with a large number of property owners and neighbors. So we want to make sure that that's as big as possible.
Thank you. Ms. Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your comments on that, Councilmember Urban. Because when I was looking at this, I was also concerned about the long stretch, but one of the things that I had considered was that hopefully we would be able to kind of platoon some areas and then kind of have platoon leaders for those areas. So maybe if we consider that also for the steering committee.
Thank you. Ms. Hulteen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To piggyback on Ms. Councilwoman Hoppy's comments, as one of the co-chairs of the NRS steering committee, which was 26 people, a big steering committee also has its own challenges. And one of the things that we found incredibly effective was to have some working groups within that. So having a steering committee that was really holding the big picture, but then recognizing that within that there can be steering groups that are working groups that are really focused on, like the businesses or residences or different recreational users. So just something that we learned from experience last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions for staff? Then looks like we got the questions done. Ms. Dozeman, I believe a motion is in order.
I move to award a contract and approve subsequent payments to MIG Denver, Colorado, in an amount not to exceed $175,000 for professional services for the 44th Avenue sub-area plan.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Dozeman, a second by Ms. Nosler-Beck. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Hoppy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm super excited to see this progress moving forward for 41st, or 44th Avenue. When I was on Wheat Ridge 2020, which is now Local Works Board, oftentimes I was asking and trying to move that towards spending some more time on 44th Avenue, which they are dedicated to doing this year, which is awesome. And so I'm super excited for those businesses to see some movement in their area.
Thank you. Additional discussion? Ms. Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to echo those sentiments. We've long discussed some facade improvements and how to connect the businesses and really get them some exposure along 44th Avenue. And having lived all but 5 of my years along 44th Avenue, it's really been something that I've looked forward to, along with the I-70 and Kipling corridor. Transportation issues and trying to mitigate those. So I'm really excited to see some of the plans that are going to come through. And I just want to thank you for your work on this.
Thank you. Additional discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Yes, sir.
The motion has passed unanimously.
Thank you. Before we get to agenda item number 7, it looks like our monitors are live. Ms. Goff, do you have some good news for us?
I think we do. Do you want to do that now?
I would love to do that now.
Great. Thank you for your patience. Again, we have Mr. Jim Lawrence here as our division chief, who was instrumental in getting our Unit 1, our first police vehicle, renovated for our 50th anniversary here. So we have a video that our team put together that we're going to share on our social media sites, but Jim would like to show it this evening.
Perfect.
And Mr. Goff is very kind because I can turn a wrench about like I can operate IT stuff. So, but I think we are ready to go. And I'll tell you, this is definitely worth the wait. Jesse Johnson, our videographer, put this together for us. And let's just do it. There we go. And we don't have sound.
Jesse, help. There's a ghost in here this evening.
Of a patrol car, and for whatever reason this car was not auctioned off.
Yes.
Unit 1 was the Wheat Ridge Police Department's very first police car. The Wheat Ridge Police Department and the city have a history, and part of that history is Unit 1. This was a great opportunity for us to restore the vehicle and represent it, so to speak, back to the community 50 years later from when it was originally assigned to the police department and originally went in service.
At that time, there was a council person named Jack Bramble. So Jack was appointed the first acting chief of Wheat Ridge. But one of the things he did right away was order a police car from 38th and Wadsworth. At the time, it was called Johnny Harper Ford. It was purchased on September 30th, 1969, so only a month and a half after the city was incorporated. So it lived its life as a patrol car for 4 to 5 years. That's the normal life of a patrol car. And for whatever reason, this car was not auctioned off. This car remained in the lot at Public Works.
The city kept the vehicle and it sat outside. It went through a ton of weather. With the city's 50th anniversary, we decided to restore this vehicle.
It's historic. It's the first city car. It really says Wheat Ridge. So Unit 1 is a 1969 Ford Custom 500. It has no AM/FM radio. It has no power brakes, no air conditioning. It was very bare bones at the time. And this has a big V8 engine. It's a 390, and it was fast in its day. We start a year and a half in advance to get this car restored with the goal of having it run in the 2019 Carnation Festival Parade. We had a fundraising campaign through the Passport program to try to raise some funds, and we had some funds that we used for our maintenance of vehicles that we could use to help restore this. So all that put together, we were able to make this happen. The restoration was challenging at every level. The interior was completely shot. It was mouse and squirrel eaten away. The interior was falling apart. The outside was rusted in spots, and it's got a lot of Bondo. The car's probably been wrecked we don't know how many times.
The first steps of the restoration were obviously mechanical. Cypher Automotive and Stat Automotive assisted with both of those projects.
And that was a huge accomplishment when we were able to get it running with all original parts. The second part was to get the interior done, to get it cleaned up and get the interior reupholstered.
It's a mess right now. Lots of years gone by. So we're gonna make this thing look like it came brand new. We have to hustle. We don't have a lot of time to waste. We're doing the door panels, of course. We're making new upholstery for the seats. We're gonna tear out all the padding. We're gonna tear out all the covers. We're gonna make everything brand new. It's gonna have a new day. You know, I have a lot of respect for what the policemen do and the firemen. We like to do our best. A little bit of luck, we'll have it done.
The third part was the exterior, the bodywork and paint.
We're here at Christopher Dodge World, and we're in the collision center. What we're gonna start doing now is de-trimming the car, pulling all the trim off. Then we'll start to strip this old paint off, start doing the body work, starting getting it prepared for paint. Biggest challenge, this is an older car and it takes older tools. Some of the clips, some of the fasteners, some of the trim is no longer available. So trying to figure out all those pieces. Just to be a part of our heritage, part of our community. This car's been in Wheat Ridge since the mid-60s. So today, we are mechanically stripping the exterior of the vehicle. As we start to remove all the paint and the old bodywork, you can kind of tell there's many paint jobs on this one. So we start to find old bodywork in areas where things need to be repaired. So first, we're going to get this down to a good base and get everything stripped, and then we'll begin the bodywork process. Pretty exciting. Start taking off 20 or 30 years worth of paint jobs, you start to find out what the history of the car is, what's been done, what hasn't been done, how many paint jobs there are. Looking forward to seeing what this car looks like when it's all done.
Today I'm just kind of weld up some holes for you guys, get John grinding, have him start doing some Bondo work, fix some of the prior stuff that was repaired wrong back in the day up to specifications of today's repair standards. Just a whole restoration complete on a car that's, 10 years older than I am can just be challenging right there. So we just welded up the holes so we can get a nice conventional new age repair done on the panel. Next step for that will be grind that down, make sure it's flush, feel it, then Bondo it, sand the Bondo down and glaze it, sand the glaze, clean everything, seal it, base it, clear it, buff it, put it back together, give it back to you guys.
After it's all prepared, sanded, blocked, and cleaned, there is a color tinted sealer that is put on, and then the color itself. When you finally get the color on it, it starts to look like a real car again, and that's when it starts to get exciting. You start to see that, hey, this is really going to look cool when it's all done.
We're here today at the city's 50th anniversary Carnation Festival Parade, and we've brought Unit 1. We're super excited to show this car off and let the community take a look at Wheat Ridge's first police car.
This is what we've been waiting for to get this car ready. It's been about 1.5 years to get this car to where it is now. The plan was to have it ready for the Carnation Festival Parade, and we made it by about 3 days to spare.
Nice to see you. Thanks for bringing Unit 1 out.
It's a pleasure.
It's a real source of pride for our community to have this this vehicle back in service, and we hope that it reminds people of the terrific roots and the terrific history that we have in our city, and that we maintain our history as we move forward into the future.
I cannot believe what a great job they did on this car. It looks awesome. The lights even work. It's amazing.
I don't know, there was so many people that were cheering and clapping and whistling. I think they're really proud to see that car. It felt great to get the appreciation from the community. Yeah, we worked hard on it, but everybody worked hard on it, and I think the community deserved that. They really gave us a great standing ovation when we drove by.
The day was awesome. There was a lot of people asking questions about it. There was a lot of people giving thumbs up, applauding the car. We have a lot of pride in it. It took a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of work, a lot of organization. But it was a really cool feeling to see the community's response for the first time, seeing this vehicle 50 years after it went into service. There was actually people in attendance at the parade that remember this vehicle. So to see their response was absolutely incredible. It was a really cool experience.
This is a city car. We want to maintain it. We want to use it. It's not just going to sit in a museum. We're going to use it. We're going to drive it to events. It's going to be part of the program. I actually drove this car when I first started. It's kind of funny to drive this car again. It just really feels good that we've accomplished something and we've saved something for the future of the Wheat Ridge Police Department and the city.
It's important to preserve pieces like this because it's part of our story. It's part of our history. A lot of pride. It's a super cool feeling to know what we started with, the challenges that we faced, that we pressed through, and to see what it is today.
I think history means a lot. It means a lot to this community. It means a lot to the department. Our police department has always recognized that we are a part of a bigger concept. There's the past, the present, and there'll be a future. And all of our employees will be a part of that. We look to the future by looking at the past.
So, came out pretty wonderful, I think, and you know, like I said, it was very nice of Patrick to say that it wasn't me. It was everybody. It was the whole city that got behind a great project, and you know, paid off at the parade, I think. The good part was that I got to drive it in the parade. So.
Absolutely. He was just worried it was going to make it to the inn without smoking and starting on fire, and
Well,
it did, right?
It's an old car, and it still has issues, and we're going to continue to work on those. I'm waiting till the budget kicks in for 2020, so that we can get some heat and defrosters in there, and then it can be a wintertime car. Right now, it's a summertime car.
Just in the details, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Jim, thank you very much. It's very good. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing Unit 1 around town then. Thank you very much. Okay, we will go to agenda item number 7. This is a motion to approve the at-large elected city official mayoral appointment to the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority Board. At issue, the members of the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority, the authority, are appointed by the mayor, subject to approval by a majority vote of the entire city council. Former council member Christy Davis served on the authority representing the at-large elected city official seat. Ms. Davis's city council term expired on November 18, 2019. I am requesting a motion from a member of council to appoint Janice Hoppy to fill this vacancy.
I move to approve the at-large elected, wait, is that the right one? I move to approve the at-large elected official mayoral appointment of Councilmember Janice Hoppy to the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority Board.
Second.
second by Mr. Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Weaver.
I would just like to see a change. The renewal authority is spelled incorrectly. There's lacking a letter in the title.
Okay. We will look for that change in the spelling. Is there any additional discussion? No, there's no additional discussion. Would the clerk please poll the council?
Mr. Mayor, the motion has passed unanimously.
And I thank you for that. That concludes the agenda items that we have before us. We will go now to city manager's matters. Mr. Goff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the police department theme this evening, I'm excited to announce that we do have police chief recruitment narrowed down to 2 candidates. And we do have another opportunity for the community to be involved. We have a community forum scheduled for December 18th at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. And our 2 candidates will provide a short presentation to tell the community who they are, and then there will be a time for questions and answers. Our 2 final candidates are Vince Line. He's a bureau chief with Arapahoe County in Colorado, and Chris Murtha is the deputy chief with Prince George County in Maryland. So we will have final processes on December 18th and 19th, and hopefully we can make a selection shortly after that.
Thank you. City Attorney's matters, Mr. Dahl.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. We will go to elected official matters and start with our clerk.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Ms. Hutchinson.
I'd like to just say I'm sorry I missed the festivities this past weekend. I needed to work, which is the usual. But I want to say how much I really enjoy seeing the lights in the trees. And I also like the lampposts between Harlan and Sheridan, the way they're lit up. I mean, it's very festive. And they did, I guess it's Public Works that did that. They did a great job. And regarding the police vehicle, the Ford, I'm hoping it's being kept in a garage.
It is now, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Noslerbeck?
Thanks, Mayor. I also just wanted to thank Local Works and everybody for the really fun night that we all got to share in and kick off the holiday season. So it's just something to be really proud of. And it was so fun. I thought that this year's event just was geared towards everybody and what they wanted to do. So there was something for kids. There were reindeer walking around. There was a dancing Christmas tree. I mean, if you wanted it, we had it. So anyway, thanks to everybody on that. And I also just wanted to congratulate Councilwoman Hoppy on her appointment to Urban Renewal. I resigned from my position in District 4. That board comes with a lot of responsibility, and I'm sad to not be on the board anymore, but I know that Councilwoman Hoppy is going to do a great job there. And I'm excited, and I hope people get their applications in for the Urban Renewal Board for District 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Urban.
Just wanted to say thank you to Local Works and the city staff that participated in the tree lighting ceremony, and really appreciate all the hard work for that. Thank you.
Terrific. Ms. Dozeman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was also at the holiday celebration on Saturday. We had a lot of fun, so we've been going every year for several years now, so it's a fun tradition, and kids had fun making slap bracelets and roasting marshmallows for s'mores and seeing, Santa walk around, and got to ride on a horse-drawn carriage, so it's really a great event. So I wanted to thank the City of Wheat Ridge and also Local Works. But as parade chair of the Carnation Festival, I also wanted to thank Jim Lawrence and Wheat Ridge Police Department for all of their hard work, trying to get exposure for fundraising for Unit 1, but also making sure that it was ready for parade day. I know we were really pushing it, and I was getting nervous, but like that was our, our grand feature for the parade. So I wanted to say thank you and for all of the hard work, and it was beautifully done, and we were really excited to have it in the parade. So,
Thank you. Glad we didn't have to hook it to a team of horses. Right. Ms. Weaver.
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am just incredibly impressed with the Unit 1 preservation or restoration. I'm going to get in my car tonight after this meeting and be really disappointed. I also, yeah, I do have heat. I also I had a great time at the holiday festival as well, and I also made my way over to Ritual Craft this weekend, and my picture taken with Krampus, so you can really get a and Amanda and I, yeah, it's, but I really want to remind people, we have so many great places in our city to do your Christmas shopping, and a lot of them are locally owned, and I want to call out in particular Tulare at 44th and J is a really darling little boutique shop, and it's shockingly affordable. And I literally usually walk out of there with 3 times more things than I intend to get. Found on about 45th and Wadsworth on the west side is like, give yourself 2 hours to get through there. They have just an incredible amount of just really great things. Four Seasons, we have great places to shop. Ritual Craft, I know it's a quirky place, but they've got really beautiful plants and like home decor stuff. So I really encourage you guys spend your holiday money locally because we all benefit from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just echo everybody else's sentiments about Saturday night. I think it was a first-class presentation. Local Works always does a great job with all their presentations, and Saturday was no different. Had a lot of fun. So did my family. And I'll echo Ms. Hulteen's sentiments about spending your holiday dollars locally. I think that all of our business can benefit, and our community will benefit as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hobby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going last, I could pretty much just say ditto, ditto, ditto. But yes, the holiday celebration was awesome. I do really enjoy when the lights are up, and it just really helps the short, dark days bring joy into the short, dark days. And along with saying thank you to Local Works and the city staff and all of our police department and volunteer, I would like to say thank you to all of our volunteers. It takes a lot of volunteers to pull off things like that, that and the Carnation Festival. So thank you to everybody who just spends their extra time to try to make a wonderful evening for everybody. And I also shopped at Tulare just this last Thursday. It's a lovely shop. But I would like to just remind people to shop small and shop local. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I would like to sort of chime in on the themes that everyone has brought up. Thanks to everyone who had a hand in Saturday night's tree lighting. It was a great success. I think it's a great event, and we have great volunteers and people that put those things together. Shopping local helps your neighbors that own shops and live in this community to be able to afford to be here. And so I hope you will take an opportunity to patronize those shops over the holiday and all year long. We're going to have, schools are going to be getting out soon for the holidays. I hope everyone is very, very, very careful driving. It's the darkness is on us now, but please be careful as you drive. Drive slowly. Watch out for pedestrians and those little kids that are out there, because they're getting really excited for Christmas. So with that, happy holidays to everyone, and we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.